Deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, whispers in the fog, footsteps on empty trails, and shadows that don't belong. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's take a look.
I'm going to tell you a ghost story. It's a true ghost story. And I believe that whatever it is has followed me here. And I think that because of this all over my windows. Now this is a new place, second floor. As you can see, I'm on the second floor. And this is on the outside of the window. First, I'm going to tell you a story that you're probably not going to believe, and I really don't care if you do or don't. Last night, I saw my friend Laura. She has been my friend since we were in first grade. We hadn't seen each other in like 5 years, but we always run into each other at some point. And she was like, hey, do you remember the CDs in your old house? Which got us reminiscing. Now, Laura was not somebody who believed in ghosts or anything, but the house I grew up in was extremely, I'll say, paranormally charged. I don't know if it's ghosts. I don't know what it is because I don't even know what I believe in, but things defied physics there. And there was one day in particular, we were hanging out in my room. I think we were in like 7th grade or something. And it was just like a regular sized bedroom. And I had one of those CD racks. So it was just like CDs. And it took up like most of the wall. And we were just hanging out. It was the middle of the day. And the CDs flew, I'm not joking, flew across the room and hit the wall behind me. Now my mom's in the other room, so she starts freaking out because she's like yelling. She's like, what are you girls doing? Blah, blah, blah. And Laura's petrified and I'm petrified. And I tell my mom, and my mom's like, oh, okay. My mom just immediately believes me, which was insane to me because I was like, you just believe that they flew across the room and hit the wall? And she's like, yeah, I've seen stuff like that happen when I was a kid, so I believe you. Oh, okay. Now we're going to fast forward to my senior year of high school. I was at Laura's house and I had a cell phone, and my mom called me and we were just shooting the shit or whatever, and the line went dead. No big deal. So she calls me back like a minute or two later and she's pissed. And she's like, what do you think you're doing? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, get home now. Like, that's not funny. And I was like, what's not funny? She's like, don't mock me. Get home now. That's totally unacceptable. What's wrong with you? I didn't raise you to speak to me this way. And I'm confused. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you're trying to show off in front of your friend. And I'm like, I literally don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, I told Laura, I was like, I gotta go. My mom was like pissed at me. So I get home and my mom is super mad at me. And I'm trying to like pry out of her. Like, eventually she could kind of tell that I really didn't seem to know what she was talking about. So she was like, okay, well, blah, blah. So I showed her my phone and like when the call ended. And she was like, that's so weird. Because she said that when she was talking to me, I started like copying everything she said. So if she was like, so what are you girls doing? So what are you girls doing? Are you mocking me? Are you mocking me? But she said it sounded like me. Now, mind you, I'm not on the phone. Do I believe my mom? Like, yeah, because I trust her and she has no reason to lie, but like, it was also kind of unbelievable. And she kind of did and didn't believe me at the same time. So it was one of those things where we were just kind of like, okay, right, moved on. The following day happens. Me and my mom are at home. Now my stepdad, very loud man, big, loud man. We had a dog named Sammy at the time. She was a big, loud dog. So we hear the front door open. And mind you, it's a 1-story ranch house, very small. So we can hear everything that goes on in the house. We hear door open, loud boot stomping, the things that dads do, right? We hear him walk through the house, and then Sammy, come on. At the back door, we hear Sammy get up and walk to the back door. And then we hear her sitting there. And we hear like, and stuff. So we're like, what? We didn't hear the back door open. So we go out. Sammy's sitting at the back door, like, is somebody going to let me out? And my stepdad's nowhere to be found. So we look in the backyard. We're like looking, nowhere to be found. So we let Sammy out. And we realize my stepdad's truck is not in the driveway. So my mom calls his cell phone. And he's like, hey, wife, what's up? And she's like, what do you mean, what's up? Where did you just go? And he's like, I'm at Home Depot. Now, mind you, we live in the middle of the country. So, like, Home Depot was, like, 25 minutes away. And I was like, what do you mean you're at Home Depot? He's like, oh, I'm just getting some blah, blah, blah. Like, he's a construction worker. And he was like, why? What's going on? And she's like, get home now. Get home now. So now, all of a sudden, me and my mom believe each other fully about what happened on the phone the day before. My stepdad comes home, and he thinks we're with him. Like, he's not having it. He doesn't think it's funny. He thinks it's, like, really weird. He thinks, like, we're kind of, like, conspiring against him. Like, he's not He doesn't know why we're doing this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he thinks this is some kind of weird, sick joke. And he gets really, really pissed at me and my mom. Like, it ended up in, like, a big argument between my mom and my stepdad where I honestly thought they were going to break up. It was really bad. It's the following day. My stepdad is home. I'm home. My mom is home. I had a swing that was out in my front yard. I would, like, swing on it. Me and my mom are just talking out in the front yard. And my stepdad comes outside. And he looks like... I don't really know how to describe it because I don't feel like I've really seen my stepdad scared ever, like maybe like once or twice when I was super sick. But like I've never really actually seen the guy scared. He's like they say in movie, like white as a ghost. Like he looks like he just saw a ghost. He has the house phone in his hand and he's just like, we're like, what? And he hands the phone to my mom. My mom was like, hello? And she like, and I'm like, what? And they're both looking at me like horrified, right? And I'm like, what? And I was like, what's going on? What did they say? And I'm like, Mom, who was it? And like, she doesn't want to give me the phone. I'm like, Mom, just give me the phone. So I'm like, hello. And I hear like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, and then the loudest screaming I've ever heard in my life where it was like crackling the phone. But it sounded like multiple different, I'm like shaky. It was so scary. Okay. I was like multiple voices, like, at once, and they sounded like demonic or something. It was really like so loud and scary. And so I just like, I don't remember if I hung up the phone or I just handed it back to my mom, but I was like really scared because it was like the scariest thing I've ever heard. And I was like to my stepdad, like, did you hear that? And he was like, yeah, that was you. And I was like, what? Him and my mom both heard me talking. But I'm right in front of them not saying anything, right? So they didn't hear the scream. They heard me, which is why they were looking at me like, what the f***, right? So we go in the house. My mom had to call her ID. The house phone was calling itself when I called. So then my mom was doing some witchy stuff at the time. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Who am I saying? But she does a little whatever, tries to get this whatever thing to go away. And it did for a while. And then that was like over the summer, right? And then we're going to fast forward to like November because we abruptly moved on Thanksgiving Day because things got so outrageous. So there was a phenomenon that happened when I was younger, like in middle school. I had carpeted floors in my room. And it sounded like and felt like you could hear the vibration on the floor. Like someone was taking handfuls of change and dropping it on the floor right next to my bed as loud as they could and as hard as they could. And I mean, it would wake the whole house up. It was incredibly loud. It was very startling. And it would happen almost every night, very unpredictably. But it just stopped one day. And we all kind of just collectively as a family decided to not try to figure out what was going on there.
So I live in the northern Appalachian Mountains, and I've heard a lot of people on here share their stories, and I have never shared this story other than to maybe one or two close friends, and I thought it was about time. So I used to be really big into through hiking. I would usually go for like 2 or 3 days and like a 30 or 40 mile hike with usually 2 overnight stops. So I had a favorite stretch that I liked to do. It was very remote, and it was a moderate to advanced stretch of trail. It was 12 miles into the first checkpoint, then 14 miles to the next trailhead, and then from there you could go another 8 miles to the last trailhead. And it was on a very high ridge. So 4 miles of switchbacks up onto the ridge, then 8 miles to the rest area, then 10 miles more on the ridge, and about 4 miles of switchbacks down off the ridge. And that's the only way in there. Beyond that, if you wanted to get to that spot, you would have had to hike about 3.5 miles in from town down the river valley, up the mountainside, 5 miles back a dirt road, and then about 2.5 miles straight uphill with no trail, and including at least 3 different sections where it was just straight cliff walls between 75 and probably 100 plus feet, none of which was on a trail, just rough terrain, completely impassable unless you were, I don't know, rappelling up and able to climb up cliffs and a mountainside through the middle of the woods with no trail. Impossible. And the trails themselves were extremely difficult. Anyways, so I entered in from the first 12-mile stretch, up the 4 miles of switchbacks, way up onto the ridge side, 8 miles to the area for rest. Took me the better part of the day, left in the morning, and the sun was starting to come down by the time I made it to the rest area. When you make it to the rest area for the night, it's just kind of like those lean-tos you'll see all across the Appalachian Trail. And I was the only one in that camp area for the night. I was there for about an hour, and I was sitting in my little platform, and I looked down the hill, down the cliff, and I see a white something moving up the hill. Again, this steep hill. So I kind of didn't think about it for a moment because it was way off, thinking it was something in a tree or whatever. A few minutes I look back and I realize this is a person on 2 feet, walking with a very odd kind of weeble wobble back and forth gait, coming up this very steep hill slowly directly towards the camp area. At first I thought maybe somebody had wandered off that was camping there for the night for firewood or something. And I watched, and as they got closer, it seemed even more off. So I positioned myself to be able to see really well. And as they got closer, my blood ran cold. It was a man. This man appeared to have some sort of significant disability and deformation to their body. They had a very asymmetrical, distorted face. They were kind of heavy set. They had one leg that was definitely shorter than the other just because of this very aggressive limp that they were taking up this literal mountainside. And in this very rough terrain, which I am wearing all very decked out equipment and have supplies and safety supplies and water and food for days, they were carrying just a small satchel, white satchel in their hand. The closer they got, the more disturbed I was of their appearance. Just like something you would see out of a horror movie, like a Hills Have Eyes type of a situation. And I was just frozen in fear. I didn't know what to do. And this was before I carried any sort of protective measures with me in the woods. I was very young. So I watched as this individual entered into the camping area, disappeared behind what was kind of a makeshift outhouse, reappeared, and proceeded to do a full circle around this very small area, taking the same gait. Remember, coming from this literally impassable direction where they would have had to rappel up numerous cliff faces. Multiple times I lost complete sight of them while they were circling around. I even went out and looked around and could not find them. And then all of a sudden, back near the bottom of the campground, they reappeared. They stopped, turned around, and looked directly my direction and just froze. And we froze staring at each other 50 yards apart. After about 5 minutes, they slowly turned around, and with that same abnormal gait and satchel bag and wearing nothing but a t-shirt and a pair of jeans in this harsh terrain in the Pennsylvania mountains, headed back down over the mountain towards that cliff face and disappeared from view. It was too late to hightail it out of there, so I slept all night with protective materials all around me and one eye open. And I got up in the morning and I booked it out to the next trailhead. And even though I had more nights planned, I called my ride and went home and did not talk about it. Fast forward about a year and a half. I am working for a place and we work in a large office complex. One more tip here. I live in a small town and everybody kind of knows everybody. A person like this would be somebody that people would know, especially if there's someone that walks around a lot. And I still, to this day, have no idea how they got there. Between their difficulties in mobility and just how remote I was, there's no way this individual could have made it on the trail, let alone the direction they came. It was simply impossible. Anyways, I'm working in this place and I'm up front speaking to the secretary, and the bus pulls up in front of the complex. The doors of the bus open, and wearing that exact same outfit, t-shirt, same pants, same white satchel, this individual walks off the bus and starts this walking gait into the office building. And I stood there and froze. So I'm standing there behind the counter, frozen with the secretary, not saying anything. The individual walks in through the doors without looking at anybody, walks right past the front desk and back the hallway into one of the larger business areas and disappears through the double doors. I asked everybody around if they knew them. They said they had no idea who that was or what I was talking about. And I spoke to both the security guards and both of the evening secretaries who were there, who watched the only way in or out of the building. And none of them said that they ever saw that individual leave or never saw that individual before or never saw that individual again. And to this day, I have never seen that individual anywhere in my small town again. I'm still friends with those people, and they still to this day do not know what I'm talking about. And I still do not know physically how any human, let alone this individual, could possibly have reached where I was by any means, let alone scaling up multiple cliff faces through the middle of uncharted, trailblazed wilderness for at least 8 miles. I have spent my entire life in the woods, in the pitch black, all hours of the day, doing a lot of things. I've come face to face with every animal that you could possibly come face to face with in the northern Appalachians here in Pennsylvania. And I have never, ever, ever been that frightened in my life. And to this day, 10 years later, I have no explanation.
Don't forget to subscribe and share your own encounter in the comments below. The mountains are watching. Are you? As always, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.